Hey guys, so I had a question from someone about how to make these new clear envelopes that I have made here. So I thought I would do a short video to show you how to make them. And there is one step that's optional, so I'll show you that. Things that you'll need, you will need a laminator. This is my cheap laminator, yes, and it has my last name on it. My cheap laminator from Amazon. And it does 3 milliliter and 5 millimeter. I said milliliter at first, I meant millimeter. You will need laminating pouches for this project. You can do it with all 3 millimeter, but I use, these are 5 millimeter and 3 millimeter. And these ones came from Amazon, and these ones came from Walmart. You can get them on Amazon as well, but you know, if you don't have access to that, you can get them all at Walmart. And I have a cat yelling at me, so if you hear her, I apologize. And then this is the optional thing. I am actually using, I cut these out of my Cricut because I'm going to make some envelopes that are specific, and I'm going to show you how to get them ready. And I'm actually going to be heating up my laminator right here while we're doing this next part, and I'm going to make sure I push the button to heat it up to 5 millimeter. Yeah, millimeter, that's the right word. Okay, so let me take these, and I will take my, this is transfer paper or transfer tape, depending on who you are. It is actually from Expressions Vinyl. They're my favorite vinyl place. And this vinyl is also from Expressions. And it kind of went this way. It's an ombre. You can kind of see that the ombre has changed. But I'm going to add in some envelopes for the 1, 10s, and 5 challenges into my binder. So you can see I just put them on here, and wherever my scissors are there. Okay. And cut these. And I'm going to take my, there's also Expressions Vinyl, my, I don't remember what this tool is called, but you use it to push it on the back and the front to make sure, sorry if that's moving, it shouldn't be, to make sure that the, I'm going to slide you guys over a bit so maybe it won't affect you. Okay, so that you make sure that the vinyl that I've cut is attached to the transfer tape or transfer paper. So I always do the back and the front of these. Okay, and I'm just gonna set these to the side for a second while I explain the next step. And if you can hear my laminator heating up right now, you can hear it's pretty loud. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to work with some 3 millimeter laminating sheets. Like I said, these came from Amazon. You can also get them at Walmart. And I have actually pre-cut some out. So these, I took 1 laminating sheet. This is what you can get from 1. And I cut 3 squares on them. And please excuse my dust. These are cut at 7 inches wide by 3 inches tall, and they've got both sides on them. So the next step you're gonna do is for each one of these, you're gonna take it, and you can see right now the shiny side is out. You're gonna take it and switch it so that the matte side is out. And it will become apparent why in a few minutes. But I'm gonna take this now, and I'm gonna take one of my transfers, and sometimes this happens to you where it's hard to peel it off, but I'm going to transfer it over to the tape/paper. And this is an optional step. You don't have to label these. I just like to have them labeled this way. You can put like little Post-it notes on them, or you can label them other ways. But this is, so far, has been my favorite way to label these because I love my Cricut. And you're seeing me struggle. I did cut these on Vinyl Plus as my setting because I do find sometimes with the premium paper, you do need to do Vinyl Plus instead of just vinyl. Okay, so now these are matte side out, as I've said. So I'm going to center this in the middle of my paper that is matte. And where's my, there it is, my tool. And just kind of burnish it on there. And I saw other people making these kind of envelopes, so I just kind of followed in their footsteps. By the way, it's not my idea. I don't remember the first one I saw, but I've seen several people make these. So that's why I made them. So there you can see it says 5s and it's on the matte side. So I'm just going to put this to the side now and move on to the next one. So here is my next one. And this one is shiny side out to start as well. And I'm going to flip it and put the matte side out. And I will move on to my next one, which is my 1s. And sometimes if they're sticking too much, you can also re-burnish them. I don't usually have to re-burnish it, but sometimes you do. It just, I mean, it's with everything, sometimes things happen. Oops. Okay. I made myself think of the Phantom of the Opera movie when I said these things happen. There's a scene with the prima donna, and they try to say to her, these things happen, and she says, you cannot stop these things from happening. This thing will not happen. I always think of that when I say these things happen. Anyway, okay, so I'm gonna center my 1s on here and use my little tool and just burnish it down to press it on. Oops, sorry, I shook your camera. All right. Okay, so there's my 1s. And now we'll do our last one, which is for our 10s. So you can see it's also shiny side out. Flip it out to matte side out. Okay. And take our 10s. And a little trick, sometimes I just kind of push it against it if it's having trouble. I'll use my fingers and just kind of shove them together right there to try to warm it up a little and get it to come off. There we go. Come on. Come on. If it's part of another letter, sometimes you can go from the one side of the letter too. Oh look, there's a glitter remnant because this room is a glitter-friendly zone. There's glitter everywhere in here, but that should not stick to this, hopefully. Okay, so we're gonna take and do our 10s. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to line it up on here, but it's okay. It'll still work even if it doesn't look perfect. Oops, and it looks like I got a Katya hair on there. It's okay, it'll come off with the tape in a second. What you doing, Katya? She's just sitting behind me, waiting ever so patiently for me to be done so we can play. Okay, let's take that Katya hair off. Come on, where are you, Katya hair? Are you inside? There we are. Sometimes I love my cats. I always love my cats, but sometimes their stuff goes everywhere. Okay, so now I have these 3 ready. My 10s, my 1s, and my 5s. Now I'm gonna take one of my 5mm laminating pouches and pull it out. And I do like to keep them inside the plastic, inside their box, just for safety's sake, I guess. Okay, so this is where the part where it might be a little tricky, the way you line them up, but I'm gonna try to make it make sense for you. Okay, so here's my laminating pouch. I'm just gonna move these over for a second so I have the full screen for you to see on. Come on. All right, so here's my 5mm laminating pouch. And I don't know if you can tell, but it is thicker than the 3, like a lot thicker. So I am gonna take my things that are now matte side out. Now this is why it's important to have matte side out, because they're gonna go matte side to matte side, and that is what's gonna melt. So I'm going to line these up so I have one on the right, and I'm gonna get it close to the edge because I'm gonna cut it open on that top side anyway. One on the right. Now this one, you wanna make sure the top side is on your left because that's where you're gonna cut it. Because this bottom part, we're gonna leave so we can hole punch it. So let me just make sure I got that lined up okay. It is hard to see sometimes on these white on white. So that's those two. Now this bottom one, you wanna make sure you have enough space to cut around the outside of these as well as around the top of this one. Okay, so let's make sure we get these lined up okay. But you also want to have space on the bottom of this one so that you can do your extra. And actually I learned last time, because I'm just gonna cut the top of this off, it doesn't have to be as far away as I thought. So now we're gonna close our laminating sheet. Okay, and I will bring our laminator into frame for you so you can see how it works. And on these, you wanna make sure you always feed in the closed side of the laminator sheet, not the open side. That's how you keep it from wrinkling. So let's get that through here. And you can see as it goes through, the magic happens on the other side. It goes from being like matte and hard to see through to crystal clear. And this is just the slow part. And yes, I am very quiet today, aren't I? I have not had a lot of caffeine yet. And for those of you that are wondering, no, our house is not sold yet. That's why I'm still filming from my craft room. I'm gonna turn off the laminator because I'm not gonna use it again today. So this is what it looks like now after it's come through that. And I kind of like to run my hand over it a little and just make sure that there's no like weird wrinkles in it or anything. Now this next part you can do with scissors or you can do it with a cutter. I prefer to use a cutter, and I just have my Stampin' Up! Cutter from when I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So I am going to first off, cut off, move it over a little. Cut off, okay. This part right here, you want to cut it so that the top of this one will open. So my bottom one, I'm gonna slice along that and I'll show you what I mean so the top of it can open. So this side opens. Now we're gonna do everything we can to not cut, so nowhere else on this opens, okay? So I'm gonna cut my sides. So I'm gonna cut this side first. I usually cut it about maybe 1/4 inch around the side on both sides. So you can see it's about 1/4 inch and approximately 1/4 inch on this side as well. Now this, okay, we wanna make sure, okay, so I told you that this part is 3 inches. So now we wanna make sure we have a spot that we can 3-hole punch into. So I'm gonna actually put my cutter at 3 3/4 inches. Okay, so I have, it's not too big for my case and not too small, and that just cut off. But now it looks like this. So all 3 of these, I'm gonna make sure they're 3 3/4 inches tall after we cut everything off. Okay, so now these, I told you these outside parts, we're gonna have the opening. So I'm just going to go make sure it's straight because it went a little crooked, didn't it? Okay, go straight across the top right here. Oh, it moved a little. Let me try to fix that because that's how other side is not all the way open. Okay, and you can, like I said, you can do this with scissors. I like using my cutter. It just makes it easier for me. You can see this one is open now. Now let's do this side and make it open as well. Okay. Let's see. So now, okay, so the part where it was in the edge, we don't need to cut any off that side. It's already sealed and good to go. The other side, I'm just gonna cut a tiny bit off to make it just a little bit more narrow. And so it doesn't have the remnant of the other top on there. And then, okay, now I'm gonna start with this one for the ones, and I'm gonna measure at 3 3/4 again. 3 3/4. So there's that one. And this one I'm gonna measure also at 3 3/4. and then break that off. Okay, so this is what these look like right now. Now, in order to fit them into my, oops, I just dropped a hole. My binder, sorry, I thought I cleaned that out, but there's still holes falling out of it, hole punches. I have to hole punch it. Now, this hole puncher was available on Amazon. It will do different kinds. It'll do your personal, A5, desk fax, A6 agenda, pocket, on mini. So you can just slide them to where you want them to cut. Mine is, it's an A5 binder, but actually the punches work better in the middle in here. So that was trial and error. I just used a piece of cardstock to test it. So now I'm gonna go through with all these, and I lined up the top. I have this little thing right here to line up. So they all punch in the same place, and you can see holes in them. Make sure you got everything lined up before you punch. Now, if you've watched me make these and you think, I'm not gonna do that, I will have these available in my shop, hopefully by the end of today. So if you would like to buy some, I'm going to be selling them in sets of 6 in my shop. So you can tell me what you want me to put on it for you, or you can just get them clear. And also, if you don't want to put them in a binder, you don't have to do this whole part on the bottom. You can just cut it around it so it'll fit like in a wallet. But that is how I make these, and let me just show you in here. Sorry, I just did my budgeting last night, so I have lots of random stuff. But let me open my binder and show you these actually fit perfectly in there. So there you go. This is how you make them. If you have any questions, please make sure you leave comments down below. Make sure you like this video. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. We normally we talk about yarn dyeing on here, but as I am preparing to move to China, which we haven't done yet, I am doing some other stuff for you too, so you can see some other ideas. So I appreciate you watching. Make sure you leave comments or questions down below and give us a big thumbs up. And we'll see you later. Bye, guys.